When was the last time you did absolutely nothing? No phone, no music, no background noise, no distraction at all. Just you and your thoughts, not waiting in line, not zoning out in front of a screen, not listening to something while you multitask. I mean, truly nothing. Just sitting, being, existing without input. If that question makes you feel a little uncomfortable, maybe even a little restless just thinking about it, you're not alone. And that discomfort, that's exactly what we're talking about today. Because somewhere along the way, we lost the ability to just be still. We've been taught directly or indirectly that stillness is laziness, that if we're not doing something, consuming something, improving something, then we're falling behind. Silence feels unnatural now. Empty space feels like something that needs to be filled. Even rest has become something we try to optimize, turning it into another task, another checkbox, another thing to get right. But what if doing nothing isn't a waste of time? What if it's actually a skill, one that most of us have forgotten? And what if that missing skill is quietly affecting your focus, your stress levels, your sleep, even your ability to feel calm in your own mind? In this episode, we're going to explore the lost skill of doing nothing, not laziness, but true mental stillness. By the end, you'll understand why doing nothing feels so difficult in the first place, what constant stimulation is doing to your brain and nervous system, and how to gently retrain yourself to experience real restorative stillness again. This is Green Earth Essentials, where we explore holistic wellness, natural living, and the deeper connections between your body, your mind, and the world around you. I'm your host, Michelle Jackson, and today we're slowing everything down and stepping into something most of us have been avoiding without even realizing it. Let's begin. Before we go any further, we need to get really clear on what doing nothing actually means, because it's easy to misunderstand this. Doing nothing is not scrolling on your phone. It's not watching a show to unwind. It's not listening to a podcast, music, or even background noise while you rest. And it's definitely not multitasking while calling it relaxation. All of those things still involve input. They're still feeding your brain. Doing nothing in the way we're talking about it today is something very different. It's intentional mental stillness. It's being present without input and without output. No consuming, no producing, just existing in the moment as it is. It might look like sitting quietly, lying down, or even staring out a window, but internally, it's about allowing your mind to settle instead of constantly giving it something new to process. And that's the key difference. Most of what we call rest today isn't actually rest. It's distraction disguised as rest. We switch from work to scrolling, from stress to streaming, from mental overload to a different kind of mental overload that just feels more comfortable. But your brain is still active, still processing, still engaged. True rest, the kind that actually restores your nervous system, requires space. It requires a pause in input. And for many of us, that kind of space feels unfamiliar, maybe even a little uncomfortable, which is exactly why it's so important. So, why does doing nothing feel so uncomfortable? Why is it that the moment things get quiet, we instinctively reach for something? Our phone, a show, music, anything to fill the space. A big part of it is that your brain has been trained to expect constant stimulation from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep. There's usually something coming in: notifications, conversations, content, background noise. Your mind has adapted to that rhythm. So when all of that suddenly stops, it doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels off, like something is missing. But what's really happening is that the noise is gone, and now you're left with what's underneath. Because silence has a way of bringing things to the surface: thoughts you've been pushing aside, stress you haven't fully processed, emotions that didn't get your attention earlier in the day. This is what I like to think of as an emotional backlog. It's everything your mind didn't have space to process in real time, finally getting a chance to be felt, noticed, and acknowledged. And if you're not used to sitting with that, it can feel overwhelming. So instead of staying in that space, we escape it, not because we're weak, but because we've never really been taught how to be there. There's also something deeper happening for a lot of people. We've lost our tolerance for boredom. Even a few seconds of nothing can feel irritating or restless because our brains are so used to being entertained, engaged, or stimulated. And underneath that, for many of us, there's an identity piece. We've tied our sense of worth to being productive, to doing something, achieving something, moving forward in some visible way. So when we're not doing anything at all, it can feel wrong, like we're wasting time, like we should be doing more. But here's the truth that most people never hear. Stillness doesn't create discomfort, it reveals what's already there. And once you understand that, everything starts to shift. Let's look at what's actually happening in your brain, because this isn't just a mindset issue, it's biological. Your brain is constantly adapting to what you repeatedly expose it to. And in today's world, that usually means a steady stream of novelty, new posts, new videos, new messages, new information coming in all day long. Every time you encounter something new or interesting, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation, reward, and anticipation. On its own, that's not a bad thing. But when that stimulation becomes constant, your brain starts to expect it. It gets used to frequent dopamine hits, even if they're small. And over time, your baseline shifts. So now slower, quieter moments don't feel neutral. They feel underwhelming. This is part of why your attention span can start to shrink. Your brain becomes less comfortable with stillness, less tolerant of anything that doesn't immediately engage it. And at the same time, your nervous system can get stuck in a kind of low level activation, not full-blown stress, but a constant background hum of alertness, always checking, always scanning, always ready for the next input. Even when you're resting, your system isn't fully powering down. It's just switching to a different form of stimulation. So when you suddenly remove that input, no phone, no noise, no distraction, it can feel like something is missing, not because you actually need it, but because your brain has been trained to expect it. And this is really important to understand. This is not a personal failure. It's a conditioning process. Your brain has been shaped by your environment. And the good news is that means it can also be reshaped. This isn't about forcing yourself to be better or more disciplined. It's about gently retraining your brain to feel safe and comfortable in stillness again. So, what happens when we constantly avoid stillness? What do we actually lose? At first, it might not seem like much. You're staying busy, staying entertained, staying mentally engaged. But over time, there are some very real costs. One of the first things that starts to fade is creativity, not because you've lost it, but because you've lost access to it. Creativity doesn't usually show up when your brain is overloaded with input. It shows up in the gaps, in the quiet moments, in the spaces where your mind has room to wander, connect ideas, and form something new. When every free moment is filled, those gaps disappear, and with them, that natural creative flow. The same thing happens with intuition, that subtle inner voice, that sense of knowing, of feeling your way through decisions, gets quieter when it's constantly competing with noise. If your attention is always directed outward, it becomes harder to hear what's coming from within. And then there's emotional regulation. When you don't give your mind time to process what you're experiencing, those emotions don't just disappear, they linger. They build up under the surface, and eventually they come out in ways that feel disproportionate: irritability, overwhelm, anxiety that seems to come out of nowhere. But it's not coming out of nowhere. It's coming from everything that never had space to be processed, because insight, real clarity, doesn't happen when you're constantly consuming. It happens when things get quiet. Your brain needs what we could call empty space, time without input, where it can sort, organize, and integrate everything you've taken in throughout the day. And without that space, things stay unfinished. Mentally, emotionally, even creatively. There's a line that captures this perfectly. Your mind doesn't process your life while you're busy living it. It processes it in the quiet moments you've been avoiding. And when those quiet moments disappear, so does that deeper level of understanding. Now, let's bring this back to your nervous system, because this is where everything starts to connect. Your body has two primary modes: activation and restoration. Most of us spend a large portion of our day in some level of activation: thinking, doing, responding, processing. Even if it doesn't feel intense, your system is still on. True rest happens when you shift into the parasympathetic state. This is the part of your nervous system responsible for healing, repair, digestion, and regulation. It's where your body actually recovers, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But here's the problem: a lot of what we call rest doesn't actually bring us into that state. Scrolling is not rest. Background noise is not calm. Even lying down with a screen in front of you isn't the same as letting your system power down, because your body might be still, but your mind is still stimulated, still processing, still reacting, still engaged, and your nervous system responds to that. So instead of fully shifting into restoration, you stay in this in between state, physically paused, but mentally active. Over time, that has real effects. Your sleep quality can suffer because your brain hasn't had a true wind down period. Your anxiety levels can stay elevated, even if you can't pinpoint why. And you might notice increased sensitivity. Little noises feel more irritating. Your patience is lower. Your system feels more easily overwhelmed. That's not random. That's your nervous system asking for a deeper kind of rest, the kind that only comes when there's a real pause in input, when your mind is given space to settle, when your body can finally shift out of constant engagement and into true restoration. And that kind of rest starts with something that seems simple but can feel surprisingly unfamiliar: doing nothing at all. There's another layer to this that's a little more personal, and for a lot of people, a little more uncomfortable to admit. Sometimes it's not just the stimulation we're used to, it's what happens when it's gone. Because for many people, stillness doesn't just feel boring, it feels exposing. When everything gets quiet, your thoughts get louder. And those thoughts aren't always neutral. They can sound like regret, things you wish you had done differently. They can show up as anxiety, worry about the future, uncertainty, worst case scenarios playing in the background, or they can take the form of self criticism, that inner voice that questions, judges, or picks apart what you've done or who you are. And if you're not used to sitting with that, it makes complete sense that you'd want to avoid it. So you reach for something to soften it, to distract from it, to drown it out. But here's the important part: this is not weakness. This is not a flaw in your personality. It's unprocessed mental noise. It's what happens when your mind hasn't had the space to sort through everything it's carrying. And the more you avoid it, the more power it tends to have, because anything that only exists in the background, unseen, unacknowledged, can start to feel bigger than it actually is. But when you begin to sit with your thoughts, even just a little at a time, something starts to shift. They become more familiar, more understandable, less overwhelming. You create space between you and the reaction. And that's where your power is, because learning to sit with your thoughts is how you stop being controlled by them, not by forcing them away, but by no longer needing to run from them. So, how do you actually relearn the skill of doing nothing? Because at this point, you might be thinking, this sounds good in theory, but how do I actually do it without feeling restless or overwhelmed? The key is to start small, really small. You don't need to sit in silence for 30 minutes. In fact, that can feel like too much at first. Start with just 2 to 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no background noise. Just a short window where you allow yourself to exist without input. You might sit outside and simply observe what's around you: the light, the air, the movement of things. You might lie down and bring your attention to your breathing, not controlling it, not forcing it, just noticing it. Or you might just sit and let your mind do whatever it does. Thoughts will come up. That's normal. The goal is not to stop them. It's not to clear your mind. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. If anything, trying to force your mind to be quiet usually creates more tension. Instead, the goal is non-interference. Let the thoughts come. Let them pass. Notice them without getting pulled into them, without following every thread, almost like watching clouds move across the sky. You see them, but you don't chase them. And at first, this might feel a little uncomfortable. Your mind might wander constantly. You might feel the urge to reach for your phone. That's part of the process. You're not doing it wrong. You're noticing how your mind has been conditioned. Over time, those few minutes start to feel different, less restless, more neutral, and eventually even a little grounding, because you're teaching your brain something new: that it's safe to be still, that it doesn't always need input, and that nothing is missing in the quiet. Now, the real shift happens when this stops being something you try once and becomes something you gently weave into your daily life, because this isn't a one-time reset. It's a practice. And like any practice, it becomes more natural the more consistently you return to it. One of the easiest ways to start is by using transition moments in your day, the space right after you wake up, the few minutes before you go to bed. These are already natural pauses, times when your mind is more open, more receptive. Instead of immediately reaching for your phone, you can let yourself sit in that space for just a minute or two. No input, no rush, just nothing. Another simple shift is to replace one scroll session a day with stillness. Not all of them, just one. That moment where you instinctively reach for your phone out of habit, you pause instead. You sit, you breathe, you let the moment be enough. You can also pair stillness with something grounding to make it feel more supportive. Sitting in sunlight for a few minutes, stepping outside and feeling the air, letting your senses anchor you in the present moment. If you enjoy working with scent, this is a beautiful place to bring that in as well. Soft, calming aromas like clary sage or vetiver can act as gentle cues to your nervous system, signals that it's safe to slow down, to soften, to release some of that constant mental tension. Over time, your body begins to associate those moments with calm, with safety, with restoration. And the more you repeat it, the easier it becomes to settle into that state without effort. That's when stillness stops feeling uncomfortable and starts to feel like something your body actually craves, not because you forced it, but because you practiced returning to it again and again. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to bring you back to something simple but easy to overlook. Doing nothing isn't wasted time. It's where your mind resets, your body recalibrates, and your thoughts begin to make sense again. In a world that constantly pulls your attention outward, stillness is one of the few places where you can return to yourself, not to fix anything, not to optimize anything, just to be. So here's something to gently reflect on. What might come up for you if you gave yourself just a few minutes of true stillness today? Not to change it, not to judge it, just to notice. If this feels unfamiliar or even a little uncomfortable at first, that's okay. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're stepping into something your mind isn't used to yet. Start small, a few minutes at a time. Let it be imperfect. And most importantly, stay curious, not judgmental, because this isn't about getting rid of your thoughts. It's about changing your relationship with them. And that shift over time can change how you experience your entire inner world. If you enjoyed this episode and want to go deeper, I share more reflections, tools, and behind the scenes insights over on Patreon. You can follow me at patreon.com/Green Earth Essentials. Thank you for spending this time with me. And wherever you are right now, I hope you give yourself permission, even just for a moment, to slow down, soften, and experience the quiet. I'll see you in the next episode. This is Michelle Jackson, signing off.